If I put the seat up to urinate and then put it down after I'm done, at your request, that is 2 seat repetitions per urinary event.
This summer, I made a video about how 50-50 men are abusive. This video is my entire point. 50-50 men who are the type to send a Venmo request for $30 and some change. These men are petty as fuck. And if you date a man like this video is a glimpse into your future. You will spend your whole life arguing about dumb ass shit.
I think I was going to give her the same like 10% benefit of the doubt of being like, men often say 50-50, but what they actually mean is, so we need to be 50-50 financially, but every other aspect of the relationship, you still need to carry that lopsided load that you've been having. So I can understand where she's coming from if that's what if that's part of what she's talking about. Because when men say 50-50, they're talking about, they're not saying,
they're talking about rent. They're talking about rent and bills. That's what they're talking about.
They're talking about rent. Yeah, they're talking about rent. They're talking about dinners and shit like that. So they're not going, you know what? I think we should have a 50-50 relationship. And by that, I mean, I'll start doing more dishes. That's not what niggas mean. So I could see that. But a nigga can say both. Let's split these dishes and these bills. I feel like that's a common stance.
That's a red flag. It's a red flag.
So the shit that used to fuck us up back in the day was, again, drinking to get drunk. So you drink to get drunk, and then you get like a Vyvanse. So it's like you're alert and you're normal seeming, but you still have your kind of drunk boy swag, kind of confidence, kind of bullshit going on. Oh man, that's a dangerous spot to be in, because you're just gonna keep drinking and then you be fucked up the next day.
Man, you taking
chemically enhanced?
Oh yeah,
man, bro. I wish I could get some of that shit. Like that shit was like NZT.
I was about to say, y'all sound limitless right now. You said I was alert and awake, but perfectly extroverted. Ladies didn't stand a chance. I took the whole bar home that night.
Yo, like, bro, dead ass. Like a week before last or something ago, I was out and pretty drunk, and I was talking to, damn near had like a little mini podcast session at this bar, bringing people into the conversation and whatnot.
Holding court.
Yeah, low key, and like we was talking about like like expectations of men and relationships and whatnot.
Josh said, I do this shit professionally. I'm out here.
Yeah. Nah.
I got a professional in the building.
I be thinking I be doing good, but then like when they get quiet, I'm like, all right, well, I don't think I said anything crazy or offensive. I mean, do you just not have anything? I'm like, I need those what it is, the Eddie Overgold talking points.
Not at all, man. Because I shut a whole conversation down. I say some weird shit. I'm like, oh, so I guess I'm crazy now. And everybody's just like, who the fuck brought this guy? Jesus Christ. Well, real quick, welcome everybody to Waving the Red Flag, the #1 dating and chemically enhanced conversation podcast in the universe. It's your boy Eddie. It's Josh. It's Alvin. I do feel like alcohol though is like a tool. Like I feel like we kind of talk about it like it's like a negative-ish thing, but it's like it is the #1 like oldest social lubricant. Like. It gets people together. It makes you friendly. It makes it like it calms me down. It makes me more like I'm way less standoffish when I'm drunk. I'm like, man, I didn't need anything. Anyway, let's go get something to eat. Like, I'm
right.
lovey-dovey type vibe. So it's like I kind of, when you said it's like it almost feels like you like that version of yourself. I know this sounds like an alcoholic thing to say, but it's like it kind of feels like there should be a way to just be that way all the time, like just be. And I know there are people who just are drunk all the time, and it's like that doesn't seem that fucked up if it doesn't have. Nate Alvin was like, hey, well,
right.
NZT baby, Negronis, Zinfandel, tequila baby, at all times.
There's definitely a way to kind of tap into it, like naturally. But like I said, like last night, I don't even remember like half the shit that happened.
Yeah.
That sucks because like I be having such a good time. I'll be talking to like all sorts of girls and shit. Like, and I'll be like entertaining like whole groups of people, like of girls.
You don't
like,
even realize it's not even getting recorded.
Yeah, right. Like I'm not. Yeah, I can't remember what I'm saying. Like, so I can just apply this another time. But if I get drunk again, it's
I just do this.
Nature.
Maybe it reactivates. Like it's like severance. Like once you get drunk, you can activate drunk memories.
Yeah, right. That's hilarious. My end be lit, bro.
Yeah, you activate it like Human Torch. It's lit, and all of a sudden you transform into your Dr. Jekyll version. Powers activated.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
I don't know, man. I never blacked out. That seems like it'd be such an interesting experience. I've never been like, damn, I can't remember.
That shit's scary.
But all it is just you can't remember last night, right? Like, is it scary? Because in the moment you don't know you're blacked out. You're just chilling. Like,
no, but what I'm saying is like you're blacked out, so you don't remember it. So you don't remember what was happening. Your brain is also not connecting the dots really well either. So like you may be like functional, like you're walking, you're saying words and all that kind of stuff. Your executive function is completely cut off. Like, so you don't know what you could have done in that state. And then you wake up and then all of a sudden, you know, you could be getting like all kind of text messages about how like you fucking knocked the guy out or some shit and ran away from the cop. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't like being outside of myself to that extent. So I'm a pretty big drinker, and I've blacked out completely. Like I've browned out quite a few times by mistake, but I've blacked out probably about 3 times, and that was infinitely scary. Like waking up and not knowing how you got to a place is, in my opinion, terrifying.
Sure. Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Because I've to wake up and be like, where am I?
What happened?
How did I get here? What happened?
What's the gap between when I last blinked and when I opened my eyes and I was here on a floor in a place that I don't know where I am, and I don't know how I got here?
Right.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, that would be scary. And just the way you the way you operate, I could imagine your adventures being like your drunk decisions being crazier than other people's. Like, damn, I just bought like $7,000 worth of crypto or some shit. Like, damn, I think I just developed an apartment complex last night. I don't remember anything.
No, like the last time I fucking browned out is like some legendary shit. Like we was in fucking New Orleans, and it was like we were going like to all these fucking like weird ass places, and it was like I was blinking, and I was waking up
and
in
time
another
was
place.
going.
So it was like I don't remember transition points at all. It was like blink, I'm in another fucking place. I'm in another fucking place. Whoa.
This nigga was goddamn.
Whoa.
This nigga was jump cutting. Like somebody would ask him a question and he would answer, and it was a different person in front of him all of a sudden.
Yes.
Damn.
Like legitimately, that shit was happening. It was like one time it was like I blinked and like nothing was in my hand. I blinked. I was in a new place and had a beer in my hand. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Talking to somebody, this nigga's time traveling.
That don't sound like just liquor.
People were talking about, man,
that's crazy.
People like, bro, you rode a horse and shit. Like, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
waking up with amnesia and shit. That's crazy.
I didn't even know I could ride a horse.
Niggas said Moon Knight type shit. He just activated his any abilities. That's crazy, man. Let's hit one of these little topic situations right quick. Toilet seat, up, down. What do we think about the politics of this?
Okay. Do you want to preface it by that video first? Because that video, that guy was, even like, that was kind of insane. That was a lot.
If I put the seat up to urinate and then put it down after I'm done, at your request, that is 2 seat repetitions per urinary event. This arrangement means that if you go into the bathroom, you can just sit down and urinate and leave with 0 seat repetitions per urinary event. Would it not then be a fair and equitable marriage arrangement, creating a scenario where we are both responsible for only 1 seat repetition?
Oh boy is saying like, if I have to put the seat down every time I piss or shit or whatever, then that means that for every time somebody's pissing, I have to do like 2 actions. Whereas for you, you shouldn't piss in the same state. So that means I'm doing all the seat rotations for our entire thing. Old girl responded to that and was like,
I don't know if this video is satire or not, but it perfectly highlights my point. Earlier this summer, I made a video about how 50-50 men are abusive. I got so much shit for it, but this video is my entire point. 50-50 men who are the type to send a Venmo request for $30 and some change. These men are petty as fuck, and if you date a man like this video is a glimpse into your future. You will spend your whole life arguing about dumb ass shit.
Which, I mean, like, her response was concerning too, because like she just phrased it as a 50-50 man, like that's like a guy who wants like a 50-50 partnership with his woman, like as a red flag or it's like some terrible shit.
Yeah,
because I've seen this creator, because she's stitched our content before, agreeing with us about some of our takes, but then recently I've seen her make takes about why 50-50 men are trash, and there's like a little bit of a smidge of I can see what she's saying, because I did ask for elaboration, because I was like, I've liked some of her content, whatever. But yeah, that sounds wild to me, but one thing at a time, I guess.
True. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I never really thought about it like that deep. I know like sometimes it can be like one of those small things that can become a big thing in a marriage if you're living with somebody.
Sure.
You know, so but just put the damn toilet seat down, bro. Like, I mean, is it really that big of a deal? Like, you know, is that like a hill you really willing to die on? Like, at least not for me, you know?
Yeah, you see, and I'm a die on a hill type of nigga around little shit, 100%, as I think you all know. But for that one, I'm like, whatever. Like, it's like, because I do think sometimes little shit that doesn't take much effort from you is indicative of how the other person views what the relationship should be. So, like, if I'm making that concession, I'm like, there's probably another area in the relationship where you're making a concession that mostly benefits me or something like that. Fine, cool, whatever. But I do think if we're looking at it nitty gritty, it's kind of like, why do I got to put down the toilet seat for you because you don't want to look like sitting in the toilet bowl is crazy. Like, as a grown adult, like that's wild to me. I've made that mistake myself as an adult maybe twice. And I felt stupid both times. I didn't think, oh, who didn't put down the toilet seat? That's crazy, just sitting in water without looking where you're sitting. Like, who sits in a chair that they don't, you know what I'm saying? I see where he's coming from, but I also think maybe that's not a thing that needs to be tit for tatted unless it's indicative of a larger, like, you think I'm here to just cater to all of your needs, regardless of the balance of this. So I think it could be indicative.
Yeah.
I think my big thing is, and I'm gonna do a classic sidestep, which I've often done in these kind of conversations. Like, everybody should fucking be putting the toilet seat completely down.
I agree.
Use it anyway. So
when you flush the toilet, lid.
Lid.
Seat like though, because not everything has a lid.
So fair enough, but 90% of American toilets have lids.
Sure.
If you don't have a lid on your toilet, you should also probably go invest in a lid in your toilet of some sort.
Yeah.
Because when you flush the toilet, there's like a vacuum suction pressure that basically just spews shit particles all over your fucking, bathroom. If you haven't done it, it hits your counter, it hits your sink,
I try not to think about that kind of stuff.
I think about it constantly, and and we've briefly got into it on the show, like my routine for that, what you call it. So like, I cover my toothbrushes, like I put them in the medicine cabinet. I
ultraviolet light bulbs.
Yeah, I UV them once or twice a week. Wow. So like, what I am saying as a person, like, if I'm having this conversation with my significant other, is both of us should be putting the toilet seat down and the lid down for
every time.
The fact that I don't want all of this shit, literal shit, flying around my bathroom.
100% makes sense.
And if we can't do that, then we can just have separate bathrooms, and you can do what you want, and I do what I want. I have 2 bathrooms specifically for that purpose.
You solve a lot of problems with that shit. Like, the more and more I think about it, I'm like, the benefits of that might outweigh
2 full bathrooms, best shit ever. I have a bathroom that nobody touches but me.
2 separate kitchens.
I have a bathroom that nobody touches but
a separate
me.
kitchen and separate bathroom. I fuck with that. I'm more and more coming to see what you're saying, because you don't got to worry about the logistical shit. Like a duplex with 1 bedroom somehow, like with like a you know what I'm saying, like a shared bedroom or some shit like that. I feel like that could really work. It just side steps. Like, everybody can have their shit messy, clean, organized, disorganized to whatever extent they want. And you don't have to worry about, like, did you do the dish? Like, oh my God, why are you? I see where you're coming from.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm kind of coming around to that idea more as well. Like, even like the idea of sleeping in different, having like your own bedroom, like sleeping in different bedrooms, and then like, when y'all want to sleep together, it's kind of like it kind of like spices things up a little bit. It's like y'all having like a little adult sleepover type thing. So yeah, I'm kind of coming around to that more. I still don't know if I would like to live in an entirely separate home from my partner though.
Yeah.
The breezeway, man. Like, duplex or breezeway situation, like ideal state. Very hard to get though. Very hard to get the kind of breezeway kind of style house that I'm thinking about from like.
But a duplex is very doable. Like, a duplex with a shared hallway is very doable.
Very doable.
Like, they sell those all the time. But because for me, I feel like the sleeping together part is like, because I feel like in relationships, it's like things fall down to the lowest energy state. So when you get complacent, what systems do you have in place that kind of help ease things along? And I feel like going to bed in the same spot together with the person is a good reuniting thing. Because I feel like you got completely separate houses, don't sleep together, you could end up going a couple of days and not seeing this, you know what I mean? And shit could just, through the hustle and bustle of life, you slowly become roommates instead of having this thing that forces you to, at the very least, examine whether or not things are good. But I don't know.
I could see it also going the opposite direction too, like where it might be needed because some people sleep wild, they snore, True. They could wake you up when they're coming in and out, like, you know what I mean? So like there's those sorts of things. Like a separate bedroom would actually probably solve some problems for some people's relationships. Kind of depends, but I do feel you on that because it does feel a little bit alienating to your partner just to kind of always be awake in a sense.
Because I know I don't snore crazy, and I sleep better with someone. Like I feel like I sleep pretty comfortably with another person around. I'm not like I can't sleep if somebody's there or sleeping crazy or whatever, which maybe means I'm the crazy sleeper, but I've never felt like, oh, I'm annoyed that this other person is in my bed, unless I don't like them. Then it's mad annoying. But if I like them, then that's never an issue. But I was gonna say with the toilet seat thing, I agree. If we both putting the lid down all the time, then I think that because I think what he is saying addresses something kind of valid, because I feel like the conversation around like little stuff like that, this is just being one example, is the thing that accommodates the woman and her convenience and her needs is the correct, most obvious thing. Like she's falling in the toilet, therefore you need to put this seat down. It's like, well, wait a second, hold on. Why is that? It's a thing I can do as a partner, of course, but to act like that's the responsibility of like the home is like, no. Because niggas sit on toilet seats too. You put it up and you put it down. That's the responsibility of the person who's about to use the item. You leave it in a state that's functional. But toilet seat down, everybody's doing it. Everybody has to lift it up. She's not falling in the water. She's just sitting on the lid. Cool, problem solved. So,
was he saying that? Maybe I misunderstood because when I heard the video at first, I'm like, but then when he started talking, I was like, okay, well, I get what you're saying. Like, like we're a partnership, like it's not just all about your needs. Of course, I'm here to help with that as much as I can, but it's not just all about your stuff. But was he saying that she should leave the toilet seat up for him since he was doing two executive functions or however he described it?
That's a good point. I don't know exactly
the
what
way
his
I saw it
was.
Okay. He was what I took it was he was trying to say, let's come up with a system so that some kind of way we're neither of always doing two motions to use the bathroom or some shit like that. Which, just being frank, not sidestepping the issue this time. I'm not gonna make a determination on anything that she said because quite frankly I haven't seen that. I saw his shit like way earlier. I think that's a little ridiculous. Like I'm fine on doing whatever like makes this shit flow fine. Like I don't care about like wasted motions and like all this kind of stuff and reciprocity. Like the last time I lived with my girl, I did all the cleaning. I did every single aspect of the cleaning because like I don't mind doing that, and that's what made the shit work. Like the only thing she did was her laundry, and I was willing to do that because I just like my shit to flow well. I like stuff to be done. Like I like the stuff to be folded. I don't like you just sitting in a pile of clothes like on my couch, that kind of stuff. Whatever makes this stuff flow easily, however it gets done, I don't care. I'm a doer. So I'm not gonna play the tit for tat like I did two motions and you only did half a motion kind of game in a relationship. I think that's counterproductive to making a household work.
Look, I will say, motherfuckers gonna love you some you this episode, because that I know I completely disagree, but motherfuckers finna eat that shit up. I think it's one thing to say I don't mind doing this thing. It's a totally different thing to say like you are entitled to this behavior from me. Those are two very different things. Like if you're willing to do all of the cleaning in the home and you don't seek balance in the relationship, you're just like, if it flows, I'll do whatever I need to make it flow. Cool. But I think it's completely reasonable for a person to be like, I don't want to have to be the person who does all of XYZ thing. Now, obviously, the whole conversation also has to be contextualized because it's like, you're a man, she's a woman, the way y'all are both socialized traditionally, like you're worrying about a toilet seat, but all in all, on average, probably you're doing way less shit in the house than she is. So it's probably already in her favor any fucking way. And this is one small concession. So that's fair. But for this particular thing, I strongly disagree on what you're implying there.
Yeah, I knew you would, but like my whole thing is like my first take is my ideal take. Everybody just put the seat and the lid down.
I'm with you on
Nobody's
that.
doing more than anybody else, but like little stuff around the house, man, make it work. That's what being in a relationship is long term. Like making the shit work.
But if only one person's always making it work.
Point. Like that's what I was gonna say. To a point. There's always caveats. There's always a limit to everything. But like, I feel like we're contextualizing this particular thing as a small thing. So I'm contextualizing it as a small thing. So
sure.
Like, load the dishwasher. Do a load of whites. Do a load of whites, man. Do a load of whites.
This is exactly that conversation about second shift labor that we talked about. If my wife comes to me and says, hey, I always have to do the dishes, I would really like if we split this better. And I go, it's just dishes. It takes 2 seconds. Just when you see it needs to be done, do it. It's like that happens over the course of a marriage. And now she's tasked with doing that entire task all the fucking time. That's not reasonable. If she's fine with that and we've made it even somehow, cool. But if me saying just do it, it's a small thing, turns into me never doing it, that's a problem. For small things and for big things.
I agree, but I think that if you're in a good relationship and you all actually are like reasonable functioning adults, and I will give the caveat to everybody that I 100% understand that there's one, there's one particular gender that typically comes to the relationship a little bit less functional to another one in the traditional Western idea of what that means. So I'm going to give that caveat. But assuming that you are in a relationship with functional adults, like, you just doing it usually levels out pretty well.
I feel like that's a bad assumption. Like the reason we're having these conversations is because people are trying to figure out how to marry. Yeah, okay.
I think people are trying to figure it out is because you have a lot of people that don't come to relationships as functional adults. Like, I feel
that's
like
what I just said, ain't it?
But that's the caveat I gave. I literally gave that caveat.
Oh, so you're saying you're only making that argument in the case that this is the situation. Okay. Yeah. I guess then my point is just saying the inverse of that. I'm arguing
it's much more likely. Yeah.
And that is much more likely that assuming that isn't the case, and I feel like most of the time it isn't the case. So you have to have those conversations.
Which I think is completely fair.
I think yours is fair too. Couple of fair gentlemen. But now on that 50-50 shit, I don't know. Cause I seen her stitch some of our stuff about, second shift labor and all that kind of stuff. And like men having sex. I think she responded to the whole idea of like men having sex that they don't want to and having it for reasons that are unrelated to their own actual sensuality. But then the 50-50 relationship thing, I was like, what the fuck is old girl talking about here? Like, yeah.
I kind of think that might be that's actually kind of a red flag for me if I hear like somebody talking like that. Hey, here we go.
He said the thing.
But that's like, cause I'm like dead ass, like that's how I was raised by a woman. Like my mom said, like when you get into a relationship, it should be 50-50, like it should be equal. Like, you should treat them fairly, you treat them like, you want to
she's looking out for you, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But now it's like you got like this womanosphere now where like they're pushing their own toxic shit. And it's like, if you got a nigga who want to go 50-50 with you in life, no, like your life will be a living hell. Or maybe I just didn't quite catch all the context of what she was saying by using that as an example, because I kind of understand where she was coming from a little bit just from that example alone. But yeah, I'm not here to just serve and cater to somebody. Like, I mean, like, and just for it just like to be a one-way thing. Like,
I agree.
I think the context that most women say that in is the fact that relationships historically, well, I won't even say historically, there's like present day data, particularly, just going to put it out there, just going to be frank with it, particularly when you look at minority relationships, outside of Asian Americans, it's never really 50-50, right? Yeah. So what happens? So if a relationship where like this hasn't been an established thing is not 50-50, like the idea is that men say 50-50 and it's really never that. So like if a man is, saying 50-50, that means he's probably going to give you like 70-30. I think that's the assumption. So I always like to give that caveat. I'm not saying that that's like the case with every single relationship. I personally think that I try really hard to overdo stuff in relationships, specifically because of that. Like, as far as like household labor and like all that kind of stuff, particularly for that reason. Like, nobody's ever going to say like I don't pull my weight in a house. Nobody's ever going to say like I don't
You're
cook.
not
I don't
catch
clean.
me like that. Yeah.
But but I do fully understand that the data supports the fact that, like, you know, men say 50-50, 50-50, 50-50. And when you look at, for example, black households, you know, women are like working more hours than men to make less money. They're doing the vast majority of the household work. They're doing the vast majority of the childcare work, even though black men are typically more involved in their child's lives than, you know, than other groups. Men's
It's still
like,
not balanced.
It's not balanced. So like, so when women come from that place, I think they're coming from a place of like men telling them that it's 50-50 and their reality never being 50-50. I don't think that applies to any of us because I think we're upstanding,
I think
real deal niggas, but like that's what women are coming from, and
there.
that's a reality, man. That's some real shit.
I
get it. I get it. I'm
not
not saying
like,
I agree,
you're still
but
right,
I get
even
it.
in our context. I feel like, because I'm not gonna sit up here and act like I haven't. Because I feel like the thing is, like, a guy or a person in general will say like, oh, I want 50-50, but what they mean is I want you to give 50, not I want to give 50. So they're focused on that side of things, and I'm definitely guilty of having done that kind of thing. I'm seeing all the things that I'm doing and overclaiming those things, and then want to make sure that the other person is matching that, but I'm not aware and I'm oblivious of all the things that I'm not doing, all the things that she's doing that are invisible, all the ways that she's contributing to the relationship. And so I go 50-50, and it's like, nigga, you already in the red, and you're talking about 50-50. Like, you not even showing up for half of this relationship. So, yeah,
but I will
say, so I see what
but I do think there are circumstances where women count labor that like doesn't really matter to men. Like I remember, I think about this all the time. Where this this is an old Twitter discussion, but it was about emotional labor, right? Where it was like this woman was always doing the cleaning, and she was like, "I'm tired of doing the cleaning. Like, my husband's going to do it." I'm paraphrasing here. My husband's going to do it, and her husband just paid a cleaning service, and she was upset. And she was like, I wanted him to be as annoyed by the cleaning as I was, and he just paid for a cleaning service. So I think women have this concept of emotional labor, which, again, is also extremely valid. Like, I think there are a lot of relationships where men kind of dump their troubles on the women that they're with and the women in their lives, and like all of their sorrow and all of their unhappiness and all of their guilt. I think of that conversation with James Baldwin that made the rounds like a while ago. So exactly. So I think a lot of men literally come to women with a lot of emotional labor, but I also think that women have this scoreboard of shit that like they think puts them over like a 50-50 mark that most men wouldn't give a shit if like they had to do. So I think that it kind of doesn't really.
I think you got to accommodate for socialization though. Like, you kind of have to come in knowing like, I'm dating a woman. She was socialized as a woman. She's dating a man who was socialized as a man. So there are certain personality traits that I'm taught to expect from her, and that she's taught to perform, which end up expressing themselves in the form of, let me make the home a little bit more peaceful. Let me go ahead and do this thing. Let me, that kind of behavior. Whereas I'm not as socialized to do that kind of shit. Yeah. So I think it's pretty natural to feel resentment in your deal of like, well, I was told if I'm a dutiful housewife and I, do these things, and like, oh, it'd be a nice thing to like do his laundry for him and blah, 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 that the payment for that will be in kind in some way. And the guy goes, I'll just pay it clean or whatever. I think a little bit more understanding has to come there, that it's not just them being like stupid and resentful about not giving a shit about shit that we don't give a fuck about. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I was gonna say with the 50-50 thing, I don't know. I think I was gonna give her the same like 10% benefit of the doubt of being like, men often say 50-50, but what they actually mean is you need to do more of this thing that I'm doing more of, but I'm going to continue to keep contributing this small percentage to these other aspects of the relationship. So we need to be 50-50 financially, but every other aspect of the relationship, you still need to carry that lopsided load that you've been having. So I can understand where she's coming from if that's what if that's part of what she's talking about. Because when men say 50-50, they're talking about, they're not saying,
they're talking about rent. They're talking about rent and bills. That's what they're talking about.
They're talking about rent. Yeah, they're talking about rent. They're talking about dinners and shit like that. So they're not going, you know what? I think we should have a 50-50 relationship. And by that, I mean, I'll start doing more dishes. That's not what niggas mean. So I could see that. But a nigga can say both. Let's split these dishes and these bills. I feel like that's a common stance. So
yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I would like to look at it. And I'm fine with taking on like more responsibilities, or like just whatever, like I was saying, like whatever works in the relationship with the person that I can work with, I'm all for it. If that's like, doing more of like the household labor, I'm already like an emotionally supportive person, so like emotional labor, that's already there. My only thing is sometimes like I think we was having this discussion before. When it comes to cleaning, I'm a relatively neat person, but my level of clean might not be the same level of clean as some of the women.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not in here like, or even Alvin's level of clean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very much bachelor. Like it's nice, it's clean especially for a guy, but
it ain't no mold.
Not, Yeah, exactly. I'm not like I don't have like cleaning routines, like weekly cleaning routines per se. Like I just okay. Well, the floor is looking. I definitely need a vacuum. I'll do it this weekend, and it might have been like 2 months since I vacuumed or some shit, like, be like stuff like that. And that, could be an adjustment. But yeah, ultimately, I'm just down for making the situation work and finding someone who I can work with. You can't work with everybody. Like somebody who has like similar habits, similar values, things like that. And that can be a bit difficult to find. And it seems like it's becoming even more difficult because you have very toxic things coming from mostly men, but even more stuff, coming from women now too. That just seem like very toxic and counterproductive to actually coming together and having a healthy bonded relationship. And that could just be, a lot of this internet talk, because when I go out and I talk to people in real life, I don't really come across a lot of that same verbiage that that you hear online all the time.
Not as much, but it does definitely exist. I've had plenty of dinner party where it's like, once people get a couple of drinks in them and somebody go, you know what, that's the problem with, and it's like, okay, now, and then a nigga goes, well, actually, fucking, men commit more suicide. And then you go, okay, now we're like, because for every Twitter argument, it's two people like on the other sides of those things, but they might just not express those thoughts as aggressively in person. So I've seen like Twitter convos happen in real life, but
it's gonna happen with a smile. It's gonna happen with a smile and not the vitriol that you see online. I feel like.
Well, it depends on how much drink has been in folks. I've seen it get a little bit heated, but you're right. It's a lot less like because it's like you're in person and that kind of shit. But it ain't nearly like how it is on the internet. Like people aren't as picky. Men are fucking fat women. Girls are paying half. They're dating short niggas. It's we're all just trying to live life, so it ain't all.
And I will say I will get into the nitty gritty of my philosophy on quote unquote 50-50, right? And as a guy who lived very long term with his girlfriend, like I am not going to completely finance the life of an able-bodied like adult. Like I'm just not going to do that. However, I will say
that's a principle matter, right?
That's a principle matter. I don't need anybody to do shit for me. But I will say that in the course of that, like, I did all the cleaning. Like, literally all the cleaning. I just said that. Like, all the cleaning minus her laundry. I was the person that cooked 90% of the time. Like, she never paid for food unless she, like, wanted to, like, go out and, like, use her own money to, like, do that kind of stuff. Every bill, like, I went through the list of bills, and, like, even down to, like, the electric bill. I did, like, a couple months analysis, and I was like, because I lived in the apartment first. I was like, you being here doesn't really increase my electricity bill. I got that. The cable, at the time we had cable. The cable was for me. I was like, I was going to pay the cable with or without you. I paid that by myself. Internet. I was like, the internet was going to get paid with or without you. Like, that doesn't increase by your presence. I pay all the internet bill. So effectively what she was doing was putting in on the rent because she was living in a space. And that's a principle stance that will continue to happen. But I do understand that, like, everybody's not me. Everybody's not gonna take those steps. But like I made it very clear that like I was gonna pull my weight. Like you're not gonna be out in the street saying like, oh, But most niggas make. But I will state that most niggas get the sweet end of the deal in those kind of like relationships. So like
I'm sitting there here looking at you mad, but it's like what you're describing is just what most women are experiencing in a relationship. But that's what your description of the breakdown sounded crazy to me. Like, and I mean, but to be fair, I lived off folks, and I'm not even saying like if I got it, it might not even be an issue. Like if I got it, it might not be an issue.
And to my point, Eddie, this is something that you turned me on to. It was like because I got to start thinking about stuff like
prorating,
how much I make, right? Yeah, exactly. With how much I make, like I would. There's a huge chance like statistically that like if I wanted to go like 50-50 with somebody, that like I would have to downgrade my lifestyle. Am I willing to downgrade my lifestyle so that we can go 50-50? Because my
you got to come down to what their 50% would be. They can't come up to where you're at.
My 50% is a little bit different than most people's 50%. So it's like I'm 100% willing to prorate rent. And again, like you ain't never got to pay internet and shit. Like that's
why? What's the division cost there? Because I'm like you
that's
using gigabytes.
It's a sunk cost. It's a sunk
so
cost.
is rent. So is rent. When you living in the spot anyway?
Oh, because we lived together like for a while. We ended up getting like a 2-bedroom like after.
Okay,
that. Like,
but she was paying rent even before that, right?
Yeah.
Like, because your whole point was the principle is you're not going to live in a space as an able-bodied person for free. I don't need your money to pay for this place. It's a matter of principle. That applies to every utility.
Which is fair, but I was also very much in my mind having this thing in my mind where like I don't want it to be any like ambiguity on like me pulling my weight, right? Like I like that's also.
That sounds almost like you maybe overcompensated a little bit.
Oh, 100%. No, like I'm not finna flex. Like I'm not overcompensating. I 100% am because like I don't want it to be any ambiguity. I want this line to be very clearly drawn in the sand that like I pull my weight.
I do think that it gets that tit for tat shit can get real annoying, because like the people who talk about fuck 50-50 niggas, they're like the type of nigga who will shoot you a Venmo after a date. I'm like, yeah, that is a little bit much. That is a bit much, unless the date was like super expensive or something.
That shit
like
not even
also,
a bit much, man. That shit's a lot much. That shit's a lot much.
I think
it's
it
a lot much, man.
Because with friends, I'm definitely doing that kind of thing. Like when me and some friends go camping, at the end we're gonna settle shit up. Now it's not penny by penny. It might be like, oh, you get the snow tracks for the tires, you get the tent, I get the food, whatever, and we call it. And we a lot of times we just go, yeah, that's good enough. But sometimes you have to go like, hey, look, the tickets for the lodge were $200. We need to divide that by 5. Like, put it in the group chat. Boom, done. Like that's.
I mean, if we talking about friends here, yeah, like even like
make a difference if you about maybe.
I think it makes a huge.
Person,
I think it makes a huge difference. Like if I'm on a date versus like me going out with my friends, I think that makes a huge difference. But also like even with certain friend groups, right? So like I have really good friend groups where like we go out like cyclically, like especially in Atlanta, and I'd be like, I got it this time, you got it next time, you got it next time. Like
that's
we
the same
rotate
thing.
on who paid.
That's the same thing.
So
that's you just figured out a different. Yeah.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
In regards to friends, I'm not positing that as an alternative. But I'm saying like as a date, like I would never do that. Like I would never shoot you a Venmo after like a date. Yeah. Because I very much feel like that's me again drawing a line that I'm never going to be the one that you're going to. I'm putting over the line, so there's never ambiguity that like it's going to be more on your plate. All right. So like it's never going to be a gray area, right? Because like I feel like 50-50, there could potentially be a gray area if you're going tit for tat. So I'm saying I'll do 60-70%, so it's never a gray area. And I'm fine with that. Like I don't feel any type of way about that. You'll never hear about it. Because
that
like
seems
I don't
like
feel
a personal accommodation. Like that seems like a personal thing for you because you don't want to be in that situation.
Oh yeah,
where, as opposed to being
I'm not
generally wild.
Again, like I
Your
started
argument
this
is
conversation.
generally wild. That's different.
I started this conversation saying like this is me. I didn't say like this is what niggas should do.
No, you said
so, like,
this Venmo is a lot a bit wild. That's a general statement about the value of that thing for other people's behavior, not your own.
Well, again, like, and then we talked about like my situation with like the friendship. So I was again talking about me as far as like why Venmo should be doing that is because like if you invite somebody on a date, you should pay.
See
well,
that.
Let me ask this question because like if you're in a long-term relationship, right?
Yeah.
And y'all still going on dates, what does that look like for you? Like, are you paying for every meal? Like, every time y'all go out to get something to eat, are you paying for like all the are you paying for every single meal or like all the dates?
Me, yes, and that's based on my personal principle. I will say that I know plenty of happily like together / married couples where like they switch off and it works for them just fine.
Mm-hmm. I ain't got it like that.
Yeah. I definitely ain't got it like that.
I ain't broke, but I ain't got it like that. Like just every single time that's a lot. And me being a nigga that's kind of like more along the lines with Alvin, I'm 70% of the time like I'm paying for stuff. Like I'm paying for like the meals, the date, but after a certain point, bro, that shit adds up. Like, it's expensive, especially nowadays too, because like, inflation and everything is just going up, and some of these women be having some expensive ass taste, bro. And it's like, you do that, like, every time you go out,
like
that's
that.
Yeah, it's like if the expectation is for me to constantly pay for that, as my value as a man and a provider, I'm not necessarily on with that. Like, I don't have any issue with paying for stuff in a sense, but I ain't got it like that. It's counterproductive.
It's just an economic thing.
This whole time I thought this was an alpha male podcast, and I'm just saying, man.
Hey, you the only one wearing red today. I can't do it. I can't do it at all. Like the margins are too thin. Like I feel like with a lot of these conversations, maybe a lot of folks have like a lot of disposable income, but
or flex like they do.
Or flex like
Right.
my margins are fucking thin. Like a single dinner or a single outing or a single trip makes like I have to take that off from something else. I'm not at a place where it's like, oh, cool, like I can do 5 extra like go out dinners in a month and it's not an issue. So like that $10, $15, $20 makes a massive difference in my personal budget. So I'm not at that level yet. I don't intend on necessarily ever being at that level. So yeah. And
What you mean? Like, you don't intend on like making getting to a point in life where you're making more money? Is that what you meant?
I just meant like it's not a super high, like so what I was getting at is I feel like a lot of men, the way I phrase it, it seemed like I was invoking this thing that men say where they're like, I'm not in a financial place to date yet. And I just wanted to clarify, that's not what I'm talking about. I don't aspire to a financial status that validates my ability to date. I'll date whether I'm poor, whether I'm rich, whatever. So I was just saying I'm not aspiring to make more money in order to date. Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah, it does make it a lot more difficult. Like, that shit it does. Dating is a lot more difficult when you don't have money. It's a lot more difficult, and that fucks up your confidence, your self-esteem. He said, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I got nothing to compare it to.
And that's one thing. That's kind of like, I wish, or I don't know what you be saying to women, or like how you do it.
It ain't. I think it's about staying in your lane, bro. It's all about staying in your lane. I feel like niggas don't stay in their lane. I stay in my lane.
What you mean?
When you meet me, you know what type of nigga I am. You know what type of time I'm on. You know what I'm game to do. Like, hey, do you want to go for a hike? Do you want to go pick mushrooms? Do you want to go? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you want to go to the beach? Like, you know what type of nigga I am. So you know what you're signing up for. No woman is who's interested in me is going like, oh, this nigga's gonna take me to Noble. Like, I don't think any woman has ever thought that about me. So I'm in my lane. We going barefoot. We digging up truffles or whatever. Like, you know what it is. So that's
not recent. Not recently. I could say, nigga, there was a time during your fucking sweater vest, young Harry Belafonte era. That could have been the perception.
Nah, cause I even there I wore it very distressed sweater vest. You know what I'm saying? It's a sweater vest, but it got some holes in it. So just so you know what type of time we're on. I don't think anybody thought I was actually had some money. Nah. So, and I would say with the Venmo shit, for me, I feel like we're putting it backwards. Like, sending a Venmo after a date is a little bit wild, but I would think from just a general etiquette thing, if a lot of money has been spent, depending on the circumstances, I would always go like a quick little text, hey, what do I owe you? Like, hey, how much did it cost? And if you're not doing that, I would think that that's a little bit rude, because the economy is not set up to where you can just hang with somebody. They spend $150 on you. You don't really know them that well. And you're not like making at least the gesture of like, hey, by the way, like, what do I owe you? Like, how much did it cost? Or like, let me get it next time, or just something. So
I will say 50-50. I will say, I think that you gave really good context, because like, like, it is tough out here. Probably more so now, in regards to food than a lot of stuff, food and rent. Pack of chicken wings is fucking, $25 now. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, feeding me is like, it's not a, I mean, I'm not struggling, but it's like feeding me still requires calculation.
It is more expensive. It is more expensive, definitely. So I will say that I think that that's like really good context. But I say for the average circumstance of an adult male, like, I think that most niggas are overestimating how much they got to put into it, right? Like, back when I was back when I was in what you call, like, I have like wild, I have wowed some women just been like like a fucking Chili's. Like you can be a good time, and like you can be a good time in a lot of places in a lot of circumstances that I think a lot of men don't do.
You can be boring as fuck at a 5-star restaurant.
Exactly. And like I think that like a lot of men, what they're doing is they're basing perception on what it takes to, you know, get some attention and like have a good time on a date based on like Instagram and all that kind of stuff. And to Eddie's point, if that ain't your lane, then that ain't your lane, bro. If you're not trying to holler at like a fucking Insta honey, you don't need to have them at fucking STK fucking 3 nights a week, man. Like again, you can have a phenomenal conversation at IHOP. Like I've done it like a million times. Like
yeah. Well, I mean,
and I will say,
but I agree.
Yeah, and I will say that like I think that during that era, like people were willing to give me the benefit of the doubt because like you know I was at a good school, like I was smart, like potential was there. So I do think on some level there was that, but like again, like you can figure this shit out. Maybe find a way to get some potential. I don't know, like figure this shit out. Like, but you don't have to necessarily like take somebody to fucking like a 5-star restaurant,
of course,
Michelin star restaurant every night to make this work. You just don't have to do that.
Chili's is expensive though, bro. Not expensive, but it's like
Chili's used to be Chili's has gotten expensive. That shit used to be cheap as fuck. You used to go eat like a king at Chili's for like $20 and some tax, man. Like
for 2 people or for one person?
It was 2 people.
Okay, yeah, it's okay. 2 for the 10, 2 for the 20 is not bad. But yeah, like shit still adds up. Like I don't think y'all understand the margins I'm talking about.
Appetizer,
like paying
and
for the bus
dessert,
to
bro.
get to some place, coming back, grabbing a drink, all that.
Bro,
shit,
I was
like,
on foot,
adds
bro.
Up.
You knew me when I was on foot, bro.
You
like we were like,
that's crazy.
I was fucking walking
foot?
to the Chili's. I was fucking walking to the Chili's.
You know what? I was on foot at that time too. I didn't even think about that. It was just all Decatur. You're right. You remember that time? You remember that time we were downtown Decatur together, like to go to the bar? You remember that shit? Wait, were we at the same financial position? Oh, okay.
We weren't.
Okay.
We weren't. I had a job. I had a job.
Like,
I just didn't have
there was
a car.
no point where we intersected with one another. I was like, because I'm about to be mad as hell at myself if we started at the same point. That's crazy. Like, you should be mad too if we were ever in the same financial position at the same time. That's crazy. We was both walking through Decatur like.
What the fuck have I been doing? The sincerity of that question was like, what?
Please don't tell me that's true.
Serious?
This nigga really pulled it from the mud.
Bro, that shit was far as fuck too. I remember we embarked on that walk. This nigga Eddie like convinced me to take this walk. I was gonna call an Uber. He was like, "No, we could just walk, man. It's a decent day out."
45 minutes.
That shit was like 3.5 miles, bro.
Hey,
and
man,
I'm in like a fuck.
difficult.
I was in a shirt and tie.
Them shoes
like
cost $50. I'm gonna get my money's worth.
Man,
Sometimes you gotta walk. But that's what I'm saying about the margins. I'm going like, fuck, I gotta take the bike to the date because the bus ain't free. It costs an amount of money. I gotta get there. I gotta get back. I gotta pay for a meal. Like shit adds up. I don't have money to, so yeah, 50-50. That's, but yeah, I agree tit for tat though. If you're going like, oh, the penny, like give me my $1.50, that's annoying. That's very annoying.
Yeah.
Let's hit this. Y'all want to hit this today? I fucked up and close it out on this one.
Oh, that's what that stands for. Yeah, I had no idea.
Understandable. A little bit of Reddit lingo. Or you was also pissed about that cheating thing. So one of the other, which one you want to do? Oh, so I had a thing to say
about the cheating thing.
Begrudged, disgruntled.
I mean, I was just like, what? Like this? That's crazy.
Well, yeah, you was like, what?
I guess we
like
can
that,
just hit that.
Whatever emotion that is.
A week before last, when we was talking about the cheating situation where the wife cheated back crazy, and like all the women were like, I'm totally in her corner. Like, yeah, I don't see anything wrong with what she did. And it was like, basically, all cheating is basically equal. It doesn't matter about the proximity. It doesn't. All that other stuff doesn't matter. First of all, cheating is fucked up. Highly frowned.
The bar is bad.
Don't do it.
That's the only thing. Like the bar of cheating is bad. All cheating is bad. So
yes,
you're comparing, like every bad thing has a bar in and of itself, and I think that's where you're getting at, Judge.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Like so,
yeah. Some bad shit is worse than other
bad.
It's bad.
Shit. But I will say I don't necessarily think all cheats are equal. Like, because what if?
Of course not.
What if I cheated on you with your best friend or your mom or some shit? Like,
yeah.
I think that I think that might be a little bit worse than
crazy.
like just some random. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Because like you fucked up like multiple relationships, and then you still have to see this person to be reminded of this.
Yeah.
even if we break up, like you're not gonna be forced to be around the person that I cheated on you with after the breakup.
And then you can add all other levels of like I cheated on you with somebody and our sex tape leaked and you saw it. Somebody sent it to you. I cheated on you and it was like for mad long. Like there's a difference between like fucking somebody once and you or cheating or kissing or something like that and like having a extended long affair, etc., etc. Like getting somebody pregnant is crazy. Like they are not all equal. So I'm totally in agreement with you.
Can I ask a question? Because I don't look at comments. I don't like. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on Instagram.
You be on YouTube.
I am on YouTube. But I don't view our YouTube.
You've referenced some comments. Maybe you don't anymore, but you've referenced comments before.
So what has happened? Is that when something gets traction, right? Like if there's like a bigger TikTok, people that I know will see the TikTok, go to the YouTube, watch the whole video, and sometimes they'll bring stuff to my attention. That's what's happened in the past. You
got the feelers, you got the agents, the field agents. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't watch myself on camera, because it throws me off. It's kind of jarring. So my question would be like, were people thinking that the sense was that we were saying that only the woman was wrong in this situation and the man was like that's fine, he did his little thing and that's okay.
The side pussy, come on, it's a little fuck, it's a little fucky, come on.
But she was wrong. Like she's a
football
monster.
coach. Are you out of your mind?
Yeah,
that's disgusting.
I didn't get that impression from them. Like they thought we were saying it was okay for what the man did and the woman was crazy for doing it, but it was just I guess that revenge, they was all for it. Like they was like, I don't see no problem with that.
I will say that I think that when it comes to self-defense or retribution, it can be hard to meter your response. And I don't know the extent to which people are entitled to a metered response. You know what I'm saying? Like if somebody punches you 5 times in the head and you stab them and they die, it's like, how much calculation are you supposed to do in that moment to be like, oh, I got to use force, but not too much force, not deadly force. It's like, if you're in a dangerous situation, and I feel like it's a situation like that where you're like, cool, I got to get revenge on him. He said I can get revenge. Who can I fuck quick that I want to fuck? Because that's the other thing. She got to find somebody that she wants to fuck. So it's like, oh, the football. And you might not be thinking about, fuck, he punched you, but you stabbed him. So there's that. But saying it, but they're acting like she didn't stab him. It's one thing to say, yeah, she stabbed him, but like, what are you going to do about it? But you can't pretend like a stabbing isn't more than a punching.
Yeah.
So. Because I was talking to somebody else about it. She was basically saying that, she was on that rah-rah shit too. Like, yeah, I'm completely with old girl on this. Like, but she was like, well, realistically, like if I wanted to try to move forward and make things work, I can see like I probably would not have done it. But in the moment, like if I wanted to hurt him as bad as I possibly could, absolutely. Like, I think that.
I've heard a lot of women say that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean. Yeah, like hell hath no fear in my brother. Like they'll take your goddamn leg off, boy. That's why you can't be fucking around like that. Fuck around and find out. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so she was like, if there's basically like kind of like no coming back from that. So like if there was no intention on, trying to move forward with her relationship and mending it,
that's fair game.
Yeah.
If she was just like, hey, look, you can. Now I do think there's a like. You can leave or live with it kind of a situation, which is where she's saying like, okay, you cheated. Do you want to leave me for the woman? No. You want to stay with me, but I'm mad. Okay. So what are you willing to do to make this right? And so now you have to pay with your pound of flesh. I'm going to go fuck somebody that you got to see every day. If you really love me, you're going to stick around through that. And in exchange, I'll stick around with what you did. I think that's kind of what the test is. So it's like, you got to do twice as much to prove once you fucked up. It's not 1-to-1. You fucked up at 1, so you gotta take 2 licks to prove that you're willing, that you actually are here for this relationship. Because it's easy to be like, oh, I fuck somebody, you fuck someone. Like, okay, I guess we're even now. It's like, do you really even love me? Do you really want to stay for this relationship? I'm gonna need some proof that you really actually want this. So,
Man, what's that? What's the name of that book you recommended to me a long time ago?
is it when we talk about often, or
Nah, we haven't talked about it in a while, but
I think it was the King James Bible.
hilarious. A Course of Love, the Course of Love.
You know, we talked about that recently. Yeah, of course, the Course of Love.
Yeah, like that is a great book. I think a lot of people need to read it. And even in that book, they were saying like, kind of in a sense, like how unreasonable monogamy can be for most people, like to only have like one sexual partner for the rest of your life. You know, he kind of explored the path of what, you know, an open, not necessarily an open relationship, but you know, kind of like a hall pass could look like through that book. And I thought those were like very good, you know, talking points, and you know, pretty valid in a sense, because monogamy is extremely difficult if you're just getting your needs met by one person, and then especially if your needs ain't even being met by that one person, but you stuck in this relationship. You can't go out and have sex with somebody else if that person is not meeting your needs. And then it's also like this thing of, well, if she's not meeting your needs, if she's not fucking you, why don't you ask yourself why? Start there. So it's like, yeah, of course. But even when you do have that conversation, like, there's so many different. It's always gonna be a new fault.
I like how you said it like it was the comment sections. I said that on the previous episode.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
Like that's
yeah,
me on the TikTok.
Yeah, you definitely did say that.
That was you annoying that nigga, Eddie. That was you annoying him, nigga.
He tried to sneak it in like it was like he made it a woman voice, like it was a comment. I'm like, that was you just said.
No, I forgot you said that, and both, because I was thinking about another comment from a woman, but I forgot you said it. But both of y'all are correct. I do agree with that. Yeah, definitely do start with, hey, why is she not having sex with me? What's going on? But there are a lot of things that go into it that don't make shit so cut and dry. You know what I mean? All the time. That person could be having like some sort of mental health issues. She might be on medication, and then that's just killing her sex drive, point blank, period. You can't just will yourself out of that and just make breakfast and then like romance your way out of stuff like that. I've been in that situation before. It's no fun. It's hard. You know what I mean? It's difficult.
Yeah.
But
my thing with that is, so I think there's a lot to what you're saying, and I think that, like, I want to focus on the needs aspect of it, but I think that a lot of people focus on the sex aspect of it. I think that when I'm thinking about long-term partnership, I think sex is extremely important to me, but I think that's probably on my checklist of what I want in a partner, that's probably the easiest thing to get. That's probably that's probably the easiest hurdle to like get over, to like get through. Like when I think about like the kind of woman that like I see myself like growing old with, and like the vibes that we like need, and like personality and like temperament, and like being able to deal with like my idiosyncrasies and like all this kind of shit. Like I'm thinking like I could find somebody that I enjoy having sex with like pretty easily. I think that like when I'm thinking about
more difficult,
yeah, like and I think that like you know, on some Tyler Perry shit, I'm always going through that 80-20 rule on monogamy, right? So it's like I'm not gonna throw away if I find something that gets me that more difficult 80%, you know, versus you know that 20% that, you know, like I probably could find a little bit more easily. But I do think that if we're looking at the all-encompassing needs of stuff, people change over time, you know? Like everybody's temperaments aren't the same. I don't need the same things from a relationship that I needed, 10 years ago. So I think that having that consistent basis of like getting your overall needs met is very difficult, and I think that kind of throws into a wrench in that logic of monogamy. But I think too many people focus on the sex aspect of it, and I'm saying that as a person who thinks sex is very important.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not a nigga that just need pussy 24/7 every day, like, so I get it. But feeling wanted and desired is very important. You know what I mean?
That's a top level thing.
Valued, wanted, and desired.
I do think in that situation, I'm a little bit like, if my partner can't have sex because of like a situation that you described, like of mental whatever, I'm kind of like, I don't really need. I don't personally. I don't know where other people are on that spectrum, men and women, but I don't need it that bad. I'm like, I'm happy to not fuck because she's not fucking. You know what I'm saying? Or doesn't want to fuck. You know. Like, I'm not thinking like, oh, I still need to get that need met. I'm thinking like, oh, like we as a relationship kind of that's just not part of the equation right now, and maybe it's something that we need to fix and discuss over time. And if we can't fix or discuss it over time, then that's a reason to dip on the whole relationship, not to necessarily like just supplement it elsewhere. Though with that said, I do agree with your general sentiment that I do think that monogamy is a little bit of a. I support it for logistical reasons. I think it makes logistical sense for meeting our emotional needs, but it is on paper, it's a little bit like you're putting a lot of eggs in one basket. This person is your roommate, they're your co-financer, they're your business partner, they're your best friend, they're your sexual partner, your romantic partner, your therapist, and the parent of your children. And it's supposed to be all those things at a sustainable level all across time. And not just that they're meant to meet your needs, but they're meant to make you feel as if you meet all of their needs. And if they get their needs met elsewhere for any of those things, then somehow they've done something against you. That on paper sounds just wild as fuck, and is not a great plan for anybody. But I think when you add it all up, it ends up being, I think, a pretty good plan if you choose it consciously.
And the internet says that you're supposed to be able to find that person and like make that determination in a year.
Yeah.
Sooner.
That's what the internet says. The internet says I should know in a year. Yeah.
Actually, I mean, if what is it? If a man doesn't love you straight away, he never will, right? That was another thing too.
Yeah, that one's crazy. Yeah, I had that quote in the topics thing. I don't know if we got
transition
all the way into that,
bro.
But
like,
we do this shit.
Cut me out saying that. Cut me out saying this. But we transition good as fuck into that one. Boom.
Nigga, that's gonna be the intro, bro. We do this shit professionally. Shit, this ain't no play shit. Yeah, that to me is wild because it's definitely been months, and then I'm like, oh, bitch, I love you. Like I didn't realize that, it happened somewhere, but it's not straight away. But the whole like women know if they want to fuck you in the first 30 seconds of meeting you, and men know if they love, like all of that stuff, I think is silly, and it's just it's a childish way that men and women both try and rationalize the fact that like sometimes people don't like you at first because you're like not just magically some amazing main character. That's not how it works. Right. And I think we all feel entitled that like, well, I'm the main character of the movie that I'm in, so everybody who does like me should love me immediately. It's like, no, they have to get to know you. They don't know your internal world. You have to share facts and show them yourself and be interesting and provide value, and then maybe they'll like you. And two, sometimes motherfuckers fall out of love with you. I feel like people have a really difficult time processing that. It's like, he love bombed me. He faked like it's like, no. He stopped liking you. That's what happens, man. Like people stop liking you sometimes. Girls, guys, like it just is what it is. So I think we have these like, they're either lying and they know it from the start, as opposed to just understanding like, no, people just, they have emotions and those emotions change.
Pretty much. I mean, I've never experienced love at first sight. Of course, I like the girl, like
like at first sight, sure, yeah.
Yeah, you seem like really cool, like you're pretty, like like the physical requirements of what I'm into, you check that box, and then like you seem to be into me, so hey, that's even better because I like who like me, and yeah, like definitely like, as you said, like over time, I learn more about you. We have more things in common. We laugh. We have all this stuff going on. Then yeah, over time, love develops. Like I don't know if they really meant that like in the literal sense. Like if you,
I don't think they meant straight like the same day. I think they meant like within that first like month or 2 months of y'all dating.
I think they just meant quickly.
That he knows, and I'm like, no, it could take 6 months. You agree that it can take longer than that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There was one time last year when I thought I was could be falling where I thought if things would have continued and we continued dating, I would have thought I thought to myself like, I'm probably gonna fall in love with this person.
I'm in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. I said that shit too.
Yeah.
I said,
ooh, if we keep doing this,
that nigga was in his journal.
Great or good.
In his feelings journal, he was like,
I need to be accountable for these feelings that I'm having. This is not alpha.
The music from Moesha was playing in the back. This is right.
Oh man.
Love, I finally found it.
Yeah, man. Like I have. It takes me a long time to even like people. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like
that too. But I feel like somebody being hot takes a lot of the like. If I'm attracted to you, I think I have like it's not love, but it's like an imagined version of love. Like I am pretty quick to be like, ooh, and then we could do this, and we could go here, and we could do this stuff, and like, oh my god, you might be holding my hand one time. We could, like, I definitely am an imaginer. Like,
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
imagine us living together real quick.
But
that doesn't always
real,
happen.
which is real reasonable. My whole thing is like, I mean, like physical attraction for me. Like there are a lot of women that I see that I find physically attractive. But for me to take that next step, like something has to happen. Like, and a lot of times for me, it's really like benign shit. Like I say it on, like I joke on it on the time, and Eddie gives me shit about it. But like, you know, like if we're talking about fucking movies and you're just like, yeah, man, fucking like Moonrise Kingdom was just fucking great, man. Like, oh man, did you fucking see like Princess Mononoke? I love that movie, or some shit like that. That shit is just like a big deal for me. So like little stuff can like start me thinking along the lines of like, oh, I really like this person. We share similar interests, that kind of thing.
500 Days of Summer. she also consumes media. We're soulmates.
Yeah. She also likes Lupe Fiasco's second album. Oh my god.
Yo, but
the instrumental is one of her.
Was meant to be.
Yeah, the instrumental is one of her favorite songs as well. Wow, thank you.
Yo, like that's one of my favorite things about like, you know, talking to people. Like when you the overall process of dating to me is a bit taxing in a sense, but like when you do find somebody who you have a lot of interest in, or like conversation flows so well, it makes it really worth it. It's just kind of difficult to find those people, but yeah, like I do love when you do connect with someone and y'all have like similar interests, or like on a very like weird specific topic. Like for instance, like, you know, like if she, oh my god, like she loves the instrumental on Lupe Fiasco's second album too. Like that's my shit.
Like, oh my god, you like Fruits Baskets? I love Fruits Baskets. You want to come over and watch Wolf's Rain? Oh my god, that's great.
Yo, Wolf's Rain had an amazing OST.
It did.
That's nice.
Yoko Kanno is a beast.
And that's the takeaway. If you take away anything from this episode, what's old boy's name?
It's a woman, Yoko Kanno.
I just meant, you know, old boy in like a general sense. Well, she's a beast. Well, look, if you out here titting for tatting, you know, on the bills and particulars, you know, even though you're not really contributing in the home 50-50, you might be waving a red flag. But at the same time, you know, if they leaving the seat up or down or whatever, you might be seeing a red flag. This is Waving the Red Flag podcast. You know what I'm saying? It's been Eddie, it's been Alvin, it's been Josh. Join us on Patreon if you want bonus episodes. We make those from all of the pre-shows. If you want to come talk to us live, come through. And we'll see y'all next week. Like, subscribe, let us know what you think about what we said today. And peace, peace. Be happy, folks.
It's a red flag.